All right, so we're going to call this part 1.5 of the Japan series. I wasn't even planning on turning this into a series, but then I went from 60 followers to like, I think now I'm at like 700 and something followers in like 2 days. So apparently you guys want to see more Japan stuff because most people have been asking for more Japan stuff. So this is going to be part 1.5 because I'm going to do a little bit better about actually explaining why Japan was the way it was going into World War II. So you got to remember Bushido culture, right? This culture of strength and honor, and Japan kind of just thought it was better than everyone else, and it thought that for a long time. Of course, everybody during this time thought they were just better than everyone else. That's just how things were done, and I guess today most people probably still think that. Most countries and cultures still think that. But specifically around this time, there was something. Eugenics is what it was. So basically it was this idea that certain races were the way they were because of how they were bred, right? So you could breed certain positive traits into people and you could breed out negative traits. And the end conclusion of that usually is genocide. And a lot of people during this time, though, were like, you were like learning this stuff in college. And so Japan were a big proponent of that, especially after the Treaty of Versailles, whenever the European nations didn't agree on this like racial equality clause. And so Japan felt like it was kind of the Europeans spitting in their face saying, oh, we'll grant you a seat on the council, but we don't give you the rank of master. And, Japan's like, that's not fair. Also, I don't like sand. And so Japan was really upset about that. And also, remember, when Japan opened their eyes to the world in 1845, they looked around. Everything was colonial holdings. The Europeans had taken over everything. So you got to remember the whole dog-eat-dog world. Either we're going to become an empire or we're going to become a colony of an empire. So that was part of the reason why. They also wanted a lot of resource independence from the rest of the world. How are you going to get that? You're going to take over places that have resources. All right, so this is a map of East Asia sometime around 1920. It is 1920. You can see Japan, you can see Korea, and you can see these weird fingers of Japanese control kind of reaching up through China into like Siberia and stuff like that. There was this weird situation towards the end of the First World War where Great Britain and the United States were like, oh, we're going to form a coalition to put pressure on the Red Army so that maybe the White Army could win, I think. They just wanted Russia back in the First World War so they could put more pressure on Germany, is what it was. So they invite Japan to this coalition. And Japan's like, I mean, we'll do it, but we're not going to be a part of the coalition. So they show up, and there's some weird situation where like a Japanese restaurant or something was attacked. And so Japan's like, well, we got to take control of the city. So they send in like tens of thousands of troops. They take over Vladivostok. They bring 10,000 Japanese civilians with them, and they just kind of start colonizing this little area here. And they keep pushing up. They start taking Russian territory. They're invading Russia. What they're doing, they're colonizing it. And when it becomes apparent to Great Britain and the United States that like the Red Army's going to win, they just pull out and they say, yeah, we're not dealing with this crap anymore. And Japan's like, well, I'm going to stay behind and I'm going to keep doing this, blah, 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 blah. But there's some weird political stuff going on in Japan where they're like, they think the army's lying to them about how many people they're losing in this process, and they don't really want any part of it, so they just kind of tell everyone to come home, right? Just give it up. So this actually, it all goes away, and they go back to just owning Korea and this area over here. And it looks like, did they own Taiwan during that time? Did they get Taiwan from Germany? I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments. You're good at that. You're smarter than I am. You know more than I do about this stuff. So we got Bushido culture. We got the Treaty of Versailles. Japan also wanted, I think, a few more things, but that they didn't get. We got the... Yeah. Yes. Oh, you're just talking. Okay. We got the racial equality clause that wasn't passed. We got Japan not getting their stuff, all the stuff that they wanted during the Treaty of Versailles. We had this little situation up here. We had Japan's desire to become more independent as far as resources and stuff were going. And, of course, the need to become an empire to survive, or otherwise they would have definitely been like half owned by America, half owned by Britain, or maybe the Dutch or something like that. So the last thing, I made another TikTok about this, but I'm going to throw it in here so you guys can see this as well. Part of the reason why Japan was so freaking brutal as far as violence and stuff goes during this time, there's a few reasons why, but surrendering was seen as like the most dishonorable thing that you could do, right? If you surrender to your enemies, you're a complete failure. You're not even a human being at that point. You're putting your life in my hands, and I'm deeming you unworthy. So it's almost like this situation where it's almost like we have a responsibility now to punish you for surrendering. So that's part of why they were so rough on the POWs that they would get. And of course, there's the idea that Japan is racially superior to everyone else, so we can do whatever we want to these people. And there's the whole Greater East Asia Prosperity Sphere thing that was going on, where it's like, oh, Japan thought that they were saving the world from colonialism. I think it was just propaganda. I think that's what they told their people back home. I think that's what they told the world they were doing. We are rescuing Asia from these vile European colonial powers. That's what we're doing. They wanted resources. They wanted power. They wanted strength, so that they could become stronger and stronger and eventually become one of, if not the, most influential power in the whole world. That's the end game for everyone. Even today, it's the end game for the United States. It's the end game for China. It's the end game for Russia. Even places like Iran and other places that I'm sure you guys will talk about in the comments that I don't really want to talk about. But basically everyone just wants to be the strongest. You know what I mean? Or friends with the strongest. Japan was kind of all by themselves over here. So, yeah, that violence though, man. I mean, they did whatever they wanted to everyone. Because you surrendered to us, so we own you. We can do what we want, and we're better than you. So they were kind of almost waging almost like a Comanche type war, a war of extermination. So that's where we're going to finish off. We'll probably pick up in the main video, part 2, sometime around 1922, because there's some interesting stuff that happens there. But we'll officially get into the Second War with that one. That's all I got for now.